Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Cancer for June 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, or click on the link below this video and see what's new on my blog. You can also sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So what's going on in this month of June? We've got some convergences of heavy hitters, I call them. The ones that are the planets that are taking a long time to go around in their orbit, and when they come together in a mathematical angle, it creates life-changing experiences. So we've got two of those convergences, plus Mars going direct. We've been talking about Mars retrograde for a long time, so we'll talk about all of that later. First, I want to talk about some things specific for Cancer. Many of you are going to be having your birthdays, you early degree placements, all June-born Cancers. It's birthday time for you, so we have to have the birthday discussion. Birthdays are magical times where the universe is ultimately, incredibly is what I wanted to say, receptive to your wishes. When the sun in the sky comes back to the point that it was at in your chart, it forms a portal for your desires, because in your chart, the sun represents what you want, what makes you shine, what makes you feel warm and fuzzy and light. That's what the sun represents in your chart. So this portal is open for your desires. Birthday wishes are astrologically based. That's where they come from. Many of the things that people just know to be true are actually astrologically based. And birthday wishes are one of those things. So you can check out my video called Making Wishes Come True, using astrological power periods. But if you just put Making Wishes or something like that with Annie Botticelli and search for on YouTube, you'll find it. And I give you lots of recommendations about birthday wishes, how to do them, and other things to help you manifest your dreams. So what happens before your birthday is something else that we have to talk about, because the personal planets are moving around, and a lot of times the personal planets are grouped together. In this case, this month, we've got the Sun and Mercury and Venus pretty close together. So they're like traveling together like a little band of, they're a little group, and whatever field of experience they move through, they bring certain things to that field of experience. So before the Sun gets either over your Sun or over your ascendant, if you're watching for your rising sign, it has to go into the 12th house. And it's flanked in the 12th house now by Venus and then soon to be Mercury. For some of you, the later degree placements, you have what I'm about to describe coming for you a little bit later, but it's still going to be relevant. So whenever the Sun and other planets are in the 12th house, this is the house of your deep unconscious mind. It's like going in and striking up a match in your attic, or going with a big spotlight in your attic, and like, what do we have here? Oh, we have an old treasure from grandma that's worth $1 million. Fantastic. Good news. We have lots of creepy, dusty things. We have, things like, what is that stuff? I was just trying to think of the fiberglass, insulation. Insulation is up there, and if you've ever worked with insulation, it's itchy and it smells terrible. It's just not a good thing. But this is what goes on in the deep unconscious well of your being. There's the worst of things, there's the best of things, and they're all mixed in there somewhere in this chaotic mess. So when the personal planets, and especially the Sun, come in there, it brings this light there. So often people will have fears come up. They'll be uncomfortable. They'll be agitated. Things that they put in the attic because they didn't want to deal with them. They have to deal with them. They come up again. Some people will deal with this through self-medicating. If you are a person who tends to go party and you start your partying before, like a good bit, like the month before your birthday, you could be unconsciously self-medicating because the Sun is in your 12th house and it's making you feel uncomfortable. And you're dealing with it through avoidance, which is what we do with substances. So this is like this common thing. If you think about how you feel before your birthday, there will be some exceptions to this, of course. There's nothing that universally is true. It's a subjective experience. But most people feel a little bit funky in the time before their birthdays. And maybe they've thought about this like, oh, because I'm getting older and I feel weird. Or I feel nostalgic and time is passing and I feel weird. And that's true. But what's really happening is you have the sun lighting up your 12th house, bringing up your fears, bringing up your concerns, making you uncomfortable. So this is not intended to torture you. It's intended to be purposeful. All of the astrological transits, even the ones that don't feel very good, are purposeful. What wonderful timing it is to have all of your fears right before you, right when you have a power period where you can make wishes. Because let's say you have an addiction, or let's say you have something you're afraid of, or let's say you have something you want to create, but there's a block or a limitation, which the 12th house also represents. You can work with those things and get clear so that you can more powerfully use your birthday wishes. And that's why it happens. So you have this period of time right before your birthday to kind of see the things that you don't want so you can see the things that you do want, and how wonderful that is. So if you feel uncomfortable, this is why. It will usually pass. And if it doesn't pass, it's coming from something other than what I'm describing here. So you middle to later, the early and middle degree placements definitely have this going on in June. Some of the middle and later degree placements, your early and middle, did I just say early and middle have this going on in June. Some of the middle and later degree placements, this is going to be staggered for you. It's going to be a little bit later, but it's going to happen. So the rest of you, not early and middle, have this focus of energy in your 11th house. And your 11th house has to do with networking. This is giving all of you, even though it's strongest for the middle and later degree placements because you have the Sun and Venus and Mercury there, the early degree placements still have a strong focus in the 11th house because Mercury is there and hasn't gotten into the 12th house yet for most of the early and some of the middle degree placements. So this is a networking gold mine for all Cancer placements. Anything having to do with internet-based projects or connections, social media, friends or connections or groups that you're a part of, humanitarian efforts, community projects or gatherings. You have a chance to have your dreams be lit up by connecting with someone else or a contact that you already have. So be very, very perceptive, acutely aware of the potentials around you for someone giving you some help that seems like it's like, oh my gosh, I just ran into this person and now all this stuff is happening. It's a networking gold mine type of energy. And if you're in a type of job or starting a business or have a business that is internet-based, this is really major for you. So early and some middle degree placements will also have the new moon in the 12th house, and that's on June 4th at 14 degrees of Gemini. The rest of the middle and later degree placements have the new moon in this house of networking, new opportunities, new openings, new groups, being involved with, joining a group that seems fun or conducive to your efforts, something like that. Then we've got a full moon on June 20th at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. The early and middle degree placements are going to experience this in the 6th house. The later degree placements are going to experience this in the 5th house. But this topic of health could be relevant for all of you and is related to this longer term transit that I'll talk about soon. It's a trine with Jupiter and Pluto, with uncovering enigmatic health problems. The big message for you now is to listen to your body. You have to listen to your body. If you eat something and your stomach bothers you, you don't process that well. So either don't eat that, or maybe you need enzymes with it. Maybe you're not processing fat very well. And if you eat something very fatty, you need to have enzymes with it, and that will solve the problem. Or maybe you just need to not eat as much fat, or whatever it is, your body is telling you something and you have to listen to it. I have a really great example about how listening to your body, or listening to my body, really came into an important spotlight in my life. I have never been a coffee drinker. I always would drink tea and not have caffeine. If you can kind of sense anything about my energy, you know that I'm not really the person that people think, well, yeah, she needs some caffeine. The last thing I really need is some caffeine. I just wake up like this and this is how I am. But several months ago, I started having crazy cravings after going my whole life without drinking coffee or caffeine, crazy cravings for coffee, and specifically some with some caffeine in it. And I was like ignoring it because I'm like, this is crazy. I don't need this. I'm not doing this. And then I was like, you really need to listen to your body, Annie. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So I started drinking coffee, not too much that it made me nervous, just little bits. And then I realized that I was having some things going on with my liver. And then I studied about this and found out that coffee can actually be protective for your liver. So if you're a person who drinks a lot and you also drink coffee, you might actually be protecting your liver from damage from drinking by drinking the coffee. I'm not encouraging people to start having caffeine habits now necessarily, but if you look this up, there's actually a massive amount of information on coffee, specifically caffeinated coffee from what I understand, having protective effects on the liver. Now this might not be true for every liver problem. There are so many problems that someone can have with their livers, and this might not be true for all of them. But for many problems with the liver, the coffee is actually assistive, and people do coffee enemas to stimulate, to get their immune system and their digestive system flowing, and there's something really strong with this. So my body was telling me that I needed this, and I listened, and it helped me. So this is the theme around this full moon, because your body might be telling you something, and it might come to a culmination where symptoms get worse, or something is like in your face, and you might need to do something about it. Your pet also might be trying to tell you something about their health or about your health. Pets take on the energies for humans. So if your pet has something going on, let's say your pet gets diagnosed as a diabetic, you might have sugar problems, how you're processing sugar. You might need some assistance there. And maybe you're not fully diabetic, or maybe you are, maybe you're just waiting to be diagnosed. But there's a very strong relationship with the 6th house and pets and health, and they're connected in the chart. So if you're finding that your pet is acting weird, you need to get that checked out and see how it may apply to you. I have a dog that whenever I have anything going on, he gets it. He has the same exact thing that I have going on, and this has been going on for well over a decade. It's not a coincidence. They're connected that way energetically. So the rest of you full moon, the late degree placements, are going to have that in your 5th house. The 5th house is the house of true love, of creativity, of children, of fun. So something involving those things can be brought up to be looked at. Full moons can bring up something that has to be addressed. Full moons can bring up something that's being completed, or something coming to fruition, something emotional. Maybe a child's graduation is around the time of the full moon, June 20th, and maybe you're happy and sad with this emotional full moon energy happening in the 5th house of children, something ending, a child going to a different grade or something like that. It's always an emotional thing. Maybe you finished a creative project and now you're getting ready to launch it. If you're going to launch it, wait till July, because June still isn't the time to launch. But many opportunities are going to come in because of these short-term planets, but especially because of these outer planets converging. I call the theme of the month of June, the heavy hitters converge, because outer planets, when they're locked together in a meaningful geometric combination, are like the heavy hitters. Whenever we have an aspect of an outer planet, meaning the ones that take longer to go around, like Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, or if you're looking at asteroids, Chiron, etc., these planets take a long time to get around. So when they make an aspect, especially to another outer planet that takes a long time to move around their orbits, their influences last for a longer period of time than the ones with the personal planets, unless of course there's a personal planet being retrograde, that's different. But as far as an actual aspect occurring within personal planets, you might feel those effects for a couple of days. But the story of outer planets getting together, that tells a story over a long period of time. It makes me think of when I was growing up in New York City. When I was a little kid, I was a baseball fanatic. I was quite a tomboy, and me and my little friends would obsess over baseball, and we'd watch it with my dad, and we would just get so excited when the guys who would be the ones that would hit the ball out of the park regularly would come up to bat. We called them the heavy hitters. And you didn't know if this was going to be a time they were going to hit a home run, but the odds were more likely that they were going to hit a home run than anybody else. Everyone was just, waiting with excited anticipation, especially if there are men on base, And that's the energy of June as it relates to the heavy hitters in the cosmos, because we have two convergences of heavy hitters. The first one is between Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces. Now, this aspect is a square. A square is known to be a challenging aspect. I don't want you to fear squares, however, because sometimes it's a square that we need, or a point of conflict that we need to crack open something up to another level, It's like it's a point of conflict that from it, you can completely improve your life and your life experience. All transits, especially the challenging ones, show weak spots. So this transit will be no exception. Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces in a square, this happened in the beginning part of this cycle. It was the last days of November 2015 through like December 4th of 2015. So the end of November, beginning of December of 2015 is when this happened first. It happens now for the second time, June 5th through June 18th, with the strongest point being on June 18th, but very strong for that whole time. And you'll feel it before those dates and after. It's a long-term story. And it's a theme that's following from the end of last year into this year, and it reaches its culmination like the end of August 30th through around September 21st of 2016. So over the course of the year, from the end of 2015 through almost the end of 2016, there's been this point of conflict. And so themes that came up at that point very likely will either come up again if they hadn't been resolved, or related themes will come up, or maybe different manifestations. But many, many people are going to have this issue come up in the form of security. And many people will have it in the form of internet security. When Neptune, the energy of Neptune and Pisces is very much behind the scenes. It's private stuff. So things that you want to be private, with Saturn coming and making this square to Neptune, they might not be private anymore. So I always post these horoscopes at least a month and sometimes more early, so that you can have a heads up for what's coming, so that you can take action. So one of the places that I recommend that you take action here is around this square, and it's around security. So I think it's a wonderful idea for you to change your passwords, to add whatever steps you can to beef up the security, to have a professional do a security check even, or research ways that, if you don't have the money to do that, research ways to beef up your internet security. Be careful of the things you post on Facebook and social media. Just have a new level of awareness of apps and how people are gathering information about you and your what you're doing on the internet, things like that. This could also be home security or work security, or anything having to do with things that you want to be private that might not be completely secured. So you want to try to go through between the time you listen to this and then, and strengthen as many of these weak links as possible. That's a really good use of the energy. There are also likely to be a lot of conflicts or things that come up regarding fear and faith. And so here are some questions to ask that can lead you down a good path with using this energy in the best way. One is and this is kind of along the lines of what I was talking about with security, but where are you putting your trust? And is that well placed? And that can be having nothing to do with internet security. It could be in relationships. It could be with, who knows, whatever. Ask the question, where are you placing your trust? And maybe it's not the best place to place it. Where could you place more trust and you're not? There's also a very major spiritual component to this, because trusting in the benevolent source and clearing up any issues you have with your connection to the divine could be what's coming up here for many people. So maybe you're placing your trust in things that are changeable and movable and the third dimensional reality. And we all know that those things are change and or always changing. But the connection with the divine is something that isn't changing. So spiritual revolution could occur from this transit for many. Where are your boundaries? Are they secure? Should they be more secure in certain places? And should they be less secure in certain places? Sometimes we're putting up walls in places where we really want something to come in, you know? So this square can bring up all of those things. If you want more love to come into your life, if you want more money to come into your life, figuring out where you're putting up blocks to receiving those things is going to be relevant for many people. Of course, I always love suggesting inner work because sometimes this boundary setting thing is not in our conscious control. It's very much in our unconscious program. And the only way that you can really get at those unconscious programs is by working on the unconscious level. One of the books that I talk about all the time that works very well for helping you to set healthy boundaries in places where you need them and take some extra walls away in places where you're trying to bring more in is a book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown. It's masterful for that. So you can look to see where your boundaries need to be bolstered and where you need to be a little bit more lax in certain places, things like that. It's like the showdown between reality and illusion, you know, and form and formlessness. So all the many ways that those conflicts can come up, this story has been brought up at the end of last year for special focus, and the story is getting stronger now, and it will reach its culmination at the end of August into September. So the next major convergence of heavy hitters we have, and this one I'm all smiles about, even though you know I'm going to make lemonade out of the challenging one and tell you how you can make the most of it, when there's a really great aspect like a trine, like this second convergence, which is between Jupiter in Virgo and Pluto in Capricorn, and I'm going to be really excited about that. So Jupiter in Virgo is very much about everything Virgo, expanding everything Virgo. And Virgo has to do with your health, your diet, your regimen, yoga, meditation, medical diagnostics. Many people have had major enigmatic health stories, and they're trying to, like a super detective, get to the bottom of what is happening with their health. And Pluto is the best ally in this because Pluto goes deep into research. Pluto rules research. And Pluto in Capricorn is very practical. So having this trine, which is strongest between June 23rd and June 30th, and again, there's a story with this. It started in mid-October 2015. It happened the second time mid-March 2016. And now it reaches its culmination with this aspect at the end of June. So many people who have been on a wild health journey, you might have some massively good news, or at least massively enlightening news that can then put you in the direction for better health. Many people are going to see movement forward in the arena of health or diet or anything like that. If you are a person who has MS, autoimmune, any other kind of autoimmune things, inflammatory-based problems, colitis, anything involving inflammation, problems with your skin, anything that just seems like whatever you're doing to it, you're not hitting it at all. There's a couple of resources I'm going to recommend for your journey. One is a book called Medical Medium. Medical Medium is a Hay House book, and I'll put it in the link below this video. And it is very interesting. It's very different, and maybe some of you won't resonate with it, but many more people are going to have a lot of answers come here. But he's basically talking about how many of the things that are plagues for our time, from the health perspective, are actually based in virus. And I know that research that I've seen about cancer, they're finding more and more cancers are linked to viruses. So this isn't really very surprising, or metaphysical for that matter, even though the person who brings it is a medium, between worlds. The information is very much based in science from what I've been researching myself. So there could be a viral component to the things that you think are not virally based, and by treating it, you could all of a sudden heal from something that you're not supposed to heal from. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm offering a resource that could change your life. So check out Medical Medium, Hay House. And another idea is to get some genetic testing. If you've had a lot of problems, you could narrow down your specific issues by having some genetic testing. A basic genetic test that will give you a lot of information and is not as expensive as some of the other ones is called 23andMe. It's the number 23andMe. And this will let you know if you have certain parts of your liver function that don't work, which would create all these other problems. If you have certain liver pathway problems, etc., or other things that could be relevant to your health. There's someone else that I'm going to recommend. His name, and I'll put all of these links underneath this video, and is a man, his name is Gino, and he is a friend of mine who is very gifted with understanding how science and physiology work, and he has helped many people heal from things that were considered terminal. So if you look up genospassion.com or I think it's .com, or I'll put the link below here. Maybe Gino can assist you with your particular situation. And he likes to work along with your doctor to see your blood tests and things like that. So many people are going to have good news or breakthroughs along those fronts, and maybe some of these resources will be part of that. What's very exciting about this transit is that it's reaching its culmination at this point, you know? The previous transit we talked about, we're kind of still in the middle of that story, but this one is reaching this conclusion, and it's such a wonderful aspect. So other things that could come up here are things involving pets or animals, since Virgo rules those areas. Also involving your quality of work experience or daily experience. Virgo rules what you do every day, what your experience is like every day. So when you have Jupiter in Virgo, it's working on trying to make improvements in your day-to-day schedule. So if you look at your life and you say, oh God, I need to work less, Jupiter in Virgo can help you with that. If you're like, oh gosh, I don't have a job, I need to work more, Jupiter can help you with that. Whatever your subjective experience of improvement of your daily schedule is, Jupiter is working really hard to help you with that. And as of the time it went direct in May, those things started lighting up again. And now when it reaches this culmination of this, activation with Pluto in Capricorn at the end of June, you could see some major improvements in your work-life balance, whatever you've got going on in your daily schedule. So that's really exciting. Also, many people will experience this trine with Jupiter and Pluto as bringing them advancements on the fronts of work, career, and life purpose. Because Pluto being in Capricorn, Capricorn rules work, career, and life purpose. So Jupiter being in a great angle there can help to accentuate, unblock, free, synergize, bring great juju to your work and career and life purpose areas of life. So that's another way that you might see this trine story reach a culmination at the end of June. Third piece that is very relevant is that on June 29th, Mars is going direct. If you've been listening to my reports for a while, I've been talking about Mars in its pre-shadow retrograde, in its retrograde, and now on June 29th, Mars finally goes direct. It has a pretty long shadow period on the back end. It will be in the post-shadow period until August 21st. But with every day that marches on past June 29th, you're getting more and more clear of it. So if you've got to launch something, do something new, if you've been waiting, July is your month to do that, and the first little bit of August, because then we're going to get into Mercury shadow again, and it's not going to be the time to launch things. There will be some even better stars for launching in the last 3 weeks of October and all of November and the first couple of days of December. That period of time at the end of the year is actually the most open than any we've had this entire year of 2016, because the other period we had, like February, March, and then this one in July into the beginning of August, those all have some influence of shadow, of retrogrades, of personal planets, even though there's some workable ground. So if you're not quite ready to launch, or something, you really want to have all the personal planets clear, maybe you'll want to lean towards that second window, but you'll just have to feel it out, because I don't know what your personal chart looks like, and sometimes personal chart aspects can supersede what the general stars are. So if you want some help with that, anything as far as perfect astrological timing or navigating through making the most of the transits, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can check out my growing list of blogs there to assist you. You can check out my personal coaching. You can look for my Unleash Your Money Magnet program to help you unleash your money magnet. If you go to anniehelpsyou.com and then click on programs, you'll see Unleash Your Money Magnet. You'll see my Creating Successful Online Business course that will be enrolling in July. You'll see my Astrology Apprenticeship program, which will be enrolling in July. And you'll see my Shine program, which is a 28-day virtual coaching program, which helps you to make the most of the starry potentials by clearing out your inner blocks. And while you're there, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get all kinds of cool opportunities and information that come along with being in that group. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.